You're so proud of him. I have to be honest. I'm a bit worried about our daughter getting into college. It's so competitive out there, and I feel overwhelmed with where to start. I completely understand. Listen, I felt the same way, and then I met Dr. Gina of Education Prep Centers. She put a plan in place that helped our son stand out in the admissions process, and that gave us a peace of mind for how to create a financial roadmap for his future. Wow, that's great. Sounds like I need to give her a call. Yes, she definitely helped our son find the perfect college, meet all his deadlines, and help us feel less anxious about the whole process. You need to reach out to her. Just check out educationprepcenters.com and set up a complimentary assessment with Dr. Gina. You'll be so glad you did. Education Prep Centers. College admissions made easy.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I'm Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleburne, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleburne, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone number is 817-556-1040.
This is Wilfred Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleburne, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angelo Rocha. I am your host of Vet for Vets. Can you hear me?
I can. Hear
Okay,
you.
great. Okay.
I can hear myself.
Today I have with me Troy Cornett, a Johnson County veteran. Troy, how are you?
I am doing fantastic today. Excuse me.
You're good. Hey, we're going to shoot the shit. We're going to talk about your life before, during, and after the military. Hopefully there's some really good stuff you can tell us today.
Sounds fantastic.
So that way the people of Burleson and people of Godly and the people all around Johnson County can kind of know who you are as a person. So that way maybe if they see you at the store or if they see you at the car dealership, or they see you at the movie theater, they'd be like, "Hey, that's Troy. That's the guy who went to Kosovo," which we're going to talk
Right.
about later.
Excellent.
So, Troy, where'd you grow up?
I kind of grew up everywhere. I grew up, or I lived. I'm sorry, I'm born in Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah, so we were there for 6 months, if I recall, and then from what my mom told me, we moved to Texas, then to California, where my brother and sister were born. Then we moved to New Jersey. From there, I only remember that because I remember doing preschool there. We then went to Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yes, Port Harcourt, right outside of Port Harcourt. I did first grade there, kindergarten and first grade. We had 2 different camps we lived in. We didn't actually live in the city. My dad, it wasn't military. My dad was an oil worker with like building refineries.
I got you. So yeah, you want to make sure that they're clear, because a lot of people think your dad is a military guy, and you're a military brat.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate enough to do a lot of traveling while I was growing up, going to different places. So Nigeria, we lived in 2 different camps. The first one, I believe, was a French camp. The French were there before we were. We kind of went into their camp, had a little entertainment area with a pool and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So we could do some fun stuff. And then they were building the other camp for us. And right about the time we went into first grade is when we had that camp. And it also had like a little entertainment area with a pool. And so this was probably, 83, 84. It's the oil company, so a lot of the women were more just housewives. The guys worked, so the women, the moms, basically were bored. So they would come up with like things for us to do as kids, plays, was it square dancing, all that embarrassing stuff that we tried to do anything to get out of, right?
Nice.
And but that was their kind of thing. The other thing I want to mention about this pool, they had a bar that went across the pool kind of lengthwise.
Yeah.
It was a metal bar painted white, and we would splash water on it and slide across it, or do, chicken fights on it.
Yeah.
And that was probably the funnest thing about the pool. And I remember when we came back to the States, we went to a neighborhood that had a community pool. And my first question was, where's the pole? How come there's no pole going across it for us to play on? And didn't realize what a liability that was. But I'm assuming if you live in Nigeria, you don't really have that liability, because I don't think they really care about that over there.
Nice. Did you learn any Nigerian while you were there?
No, I didn't. We didn't really have it. It was all American schools. I guess some of the wives that were teachers, took up the job of teaching and that kind of thing. But after we did Nigeria, I did 2nd and 3rd grade in Chile. We were in Punta Arenas, which is all the way at the very tip of Chile.
Literally right on the bottom.
If you look at a map of Chile, you'll see an island called Terra del Fuego. That is the last bit of island before you hit Antarctica. Okay. And Punta Arenas is right there. I could see Terra del Fuego from my neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And so that's how far south we were. So we went from an extreme, Nigeria, which was always hot. When it rained, it poured. And then we went to Chile, where I think there was like 2 days of the entire time we were there, we could actually wear shorts. It was always cold. So, but it had a lot of fun. We had a big, like a hill or whatever, and I would get on a sled.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's got to be fun out there. Yeah. They got mountains over there like crazy.
Oh, we did quite a few. My dad was big into fishing, outdoor stuff. So, we would go on these trips. There was this one island we did Easter at, and it has this bridge. It's got to be half a mile long. It's just big enough for like one person to walk across. So if you had all your baggage, you had to wait for someone to get across this bridge. That's the only thing I distinctly remember about this this little Easter trip we did. But yeah, we went and we did some like some whitewater rafting type stuff, and it was a great time. I really enjoyed Chile. After that, we came back to the States. Now, here's the thing: I finished 3rd grade in Chile. Now, because they're on the bottom side of the world, it's winter when we have summer.
Correct.
So I finished the summer break there. So that means it's December. So we moved back to the States, to Louisiana, during December. And my mom had to explain to me why I had to go back to 3rd grade, because she said, well, I can't take you out of school, so you're going to do more. So I was really mad about having to repeat 3rd grade, what I considered repeating 3rd grade. So I got in a lot of trouble in school. I did a lot of talking. My name would go on the board every day. I'm really good at spelling now because of that, because I spent more time doing spelling words than actually enjoying recess.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I didn't think so at the time, but yeah, it's and then we did that. I did that all the way till about 5th grade. And then we moved finally to Texas, where I finished out high school. My mom finally got into a community that she really liked. That was in Sour Lake, Texas, right outside of Beaumont. Schools were real good there. My dad, as long as he went on trips that were under a year, they wouldn't pay for us to go. And so my mom told him, if you need to take a job somewhere where you can be there for the 3 to 6 months, something like that. So we can stay here and don't take the 2 or 3 year jobs where we would have to go. And he pretty much did that, but he would travel from Beaumont to Houston, which is about 2 hours, almost every day to work. So he worked out
my goodness,
just to keep
no.
us in Sour Lake, where
Oh,
my
my
mom
goodness.
liked the school. So made a lot of sacrifices so that we could get a good education, and and moving around was really hard because you had to make new friends every 2. And by the time we got to Texas, I was convinced we were going to move again. So I wasn't very friendly to anybody because I just
Makes
thought,
sense.
why be friendly when I'm just going to end up having to, break off friendships? And then sure enough, we end up staying there till high, I get out of high school. So,
So did you have any influences growing up?
such as
Just people in your life that you can kind of made an impact on you that kind of set in stone exactly who you are today?
I don't know. I guess my grandfather, I do ham radio, and he was big into ham radio and that kind of thing. And so I kind of took an interest off of that. I got my license at 15, which is really young typically.
That is very young.
Ham radio. But I was very interested in it. And I did join a local ham radio community or club and got to host the net, which they didn't often do. But they let me at 15 host the net, which was really cool.
That is cool.
It really stoked me up a little bit on it. My 6th grade teacher also really got me into that. He was a ham radio operator, and so when he found out I had an interest, he was the one that actually drove me to take my test after I'd done all my studying.
Nice.
So, and you can actually do like satellite manipulation and all that kind of stuff with the radios, and he was showing me how to do all that, which is really cool. So, but yeah, I'd have to say him as well. I got to have his wife as my 7th grade teacher for, I think it was like some sort of creative writing class.
Yeah.
And so that was really neat. I enjoyed both of them. They were really good teachers. So.
Did you have any siblings growing up?
Yes, I have a brother and a sister, both younger. So my younger brother's name's Cody. My younger sister is Teresa. And Cody lives not too far down the road in Forney, and my sister lives in Washington, where my mom lives.
Forney.
Right
That's
now.
a nice little town.
It is. It's pretty nice and quaint.
So you're in high school. Did you have any girlfriends in high school?
Not really. I wasn't really into the dance scene. I didn't do a lot of that kind of stuff. I had a couple of girlfriends from church more than anything. They went to different schools. In fact, actually, it was just the one. We ended up dating. She was a year ahead of me. She was in ROTC. We didn't have ROTC at my school. I wish we had. I didn't play a lot of sports growing up. I was more into military type stuff. So I joined Civil Air Patrol, and she found out that I joined Civil Air Patrol. That's kind of how she got to me, was she found out I joined that. So she joined it in order to spark some interest, which it worked, and then she ended up joining the Navy, even though Civil Air Patrol is an Air Force thing.
Yes.
And then things just kind of went on. She broke off with me there, but I then started dating her best friend.
So would you say you were the jock type, or would you say you're the bookworm nerdy type?
I was more the bookworm nerdy type. I always had my nose in a book, with the bus station, or going to and from the school with the buses and all that kind of stuff. I was always reading. In fact, my biology teacher, I didn't do so well on a biology test, and I was like, man, I just don't know why I didn't do so well on that. And he said, well, if you take your nose out of that book and put it into this book, I bet you'd have done better. And I was like, okay, yeah, because if I wasn't doing any kind of schoolwork, I had my nose in a book, usually sci-fi or fantasy and that kind of thing.
So you were in high school. You're nearing the end of high school. Did you join the military right after high school, or did you wait a couple of years like some people?
Actually, I joined while I was in high school. I did the delayed entry program.
That's the same thing I did. That's good.
I decided it was December of '97. I went to MEPS and got all that done and sworn in and everything. Nice. And then they put me in delayed entry. And they were like, well, when do you want to go to boot camp? And I was like, well, I graduate May 29th. So, May 30th, if we can do this. I knew we were going to Chicago. And I went to Chicago to watch my girlfriend graduate. We were still dating at the time, and it was cold. And I said,
it's always cold there.
I would rather, if I'm at boot camp, I'd rather sweat it off than freeze it off, right? So that's kind of the way I looked at it. So I was like, hey, the sooner the better. Let's get this over with. Now, I had a friend of mine who joined the Navy as well, and he's like, so you're not going to enjoy your summer off? And I said, dude, by the time you get done with boot camp, I'll be in the fleet. So no, I definitely want to get this over with. Nice. Let's just get it done.
So Troy, what was your ultimate decision into joining the military? Was it because of your woman, or was it because you felt some kind of patriotism, or did you just need the college money?
No, I've always felt patriotic about being an American. You know, when we were in Chile, I remember I told somebody, this is what, third grade. I told one of the kids, you know, my brother wanted to learn Spanish. I didn't want to learn Spanish because I come from America, so I'm going to speak English. I had that kind of that's the mentality I had was, hey man,
there's some people that do that.
I'm here. I'm an American. I'm going to speak English. I'm not going to learn your language. That's just the way I felt about it, you know. And so, but
I mean, considering all the Spanish countries you've been to, the South American countries you were in,
I never was interested in learning the language. My mom's always gone on to me about it. Like, you really should, especially living in Texas, you know. And I'm just like, look, you know, if it happens, it happens. But I'm just not really into that. So, but yeah, I kind of lost where we were going with that.
No, it's fine. We were just talking about what was your decision to join the military.
It's just, yeah, I've always been patriotic. I love war movies. You know, Patton's one of my favorite movies. You know,
it's a great movie.
And so I got introduced to that movie quite early, and I've just always been patriotic. Like I said, I didn't like sports. My dad was real big into sports. Tried to get me into football, baseball, basketball. I played them all. I hated every bit of it. And my mom finally said, "Look, he's not interested. Cody is. Let him do that."
Yeah.
Troy's interested in doing something else. So I found Civil Air Patrol. And that's what really kind of cemented it for me. Was I started that my freshman year, did it for 4 years, and that's kind of what said, you know, I think I really would like to do this. I was going to make it a career. It didn't quite turn out that way, but
it never does. It always your career trajectories are just always make that far right for some kind of reason. Could be anything to do with love. Could be accidents. Could be, you know, fatal stuff like 9/11, which was the reason why my career trajectory kind of veered off. So you decide to go. Where was your MEPS?
It was in Houston, Texas. So,
all the way down there.
Yeah, we had to drive to Houston to do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, but I know when I went, yeah, they said, "Well, you should know what you're gonna be doing." And
most of the time, a lot of people don't know what they're gonna do in the military. It depends on their ASVAB score. Would you say you had a pretty good score?
No, I had a horrible score, actually.
That's why they just told you to get whatever.
Well, here's the thing. So here's what I thought about it was when it came to ASVAB, I didn't want to really study for it and score like 100 and then go, hey, you know what? Nuke sounds great. I don't know if I want to be a nuke. You know, I don't know if I want to. That's a 2-year school. They've got calculus. There's all this other stuff. I know me and math, and I'm not that with math. So I thought I'm just going to go and take it, you know, carte blanche, no studying. How do I do with this test? And I think I ended up with a 50. So I was very limited on my options.
So that's good. You knew that you weren't good at something, and you didn't put the lives of Americans
and
the
kind
lives
of the way
people
I
in the world because of, you know, because
right.
you didn't know math.
Right.
You're off by one number. Oh, there goes Nigeria.
That's kind of what I was thinking was, man, you know, if we're going to be doing some serious stuff out there, I don't want to fake it till I make it. You know, I'd just rather know, okay, where am I at and what kind of job would I fit in with? So but yeah, they said you're going to know most likely what you're going to do, and then you know, we'll see what happens. So I went, I got the weapons, you know, or aviation ordnance. You know, I think I had cook, I had HT, which is hull technician. That's basically.
You still remember all of that?
Oh yeah, I've got a great memory for that kind of stuff. It's just stuff I'm really interested.
Not me.
In,
I just knew as military police officer or diesel mechanic. That's all I remember.
See, I still remember a whole bunch of stuff from A school. I've got a buddy of mine who lives not too far away, and we talk about it sometimes. He's like, I can't believe you still remember all that. I'm like, I just soak it in. If it's interesting to me, I keep it. If it's not, I flush it out. You know. So,
what's your ham radio call sign?
Kilo Charlie 5 Lima Victor Sierra.
Okay, so make sure if you listen out there on the radio right now, there you go. Kilo Lima what?
Lima Victor Sierra.
Oh, there you go.
So when I got that, I wasn't sure if I liked it. And when I was talking to the guy at the radio club, he was like, "Man, you got the best call sign ever." I said, "Why is that?" He says, "Dude, you are Elvis." And I was like, "Oh, you know, I haven't thought about like that. LVS, that's Elvis." Yeah. So that was my nickname at the radio club from there on out. They all call me Elvis. So
do you do a Elvis impression?
No, I don't do Elvis impressions.
Oh,
no, I'm not a big Elvis fan. So
oh, really?
No, I don't know a lot about him. So.
Oh man, I have some friends that are diehard Elvis fans. If you talk crap about them, oh my God, they'll actually like slash your tires if you talk crap about Elvis. They've probably seen the new Elvis movie like 12 times already.
I heard it was coming out. I didn't know it was out already.
No, it's come out. And yeah, some people you can't talk about the big guy like that.
Can't. The only thing I can relate to him is just that LVS, and that's how I kind of remembered it for the longest time was it's Elvis.
So you go through MEPS, you get probed, prodded, and inspected. You get through. So where was your basic?
It was in Great Lakes, Michigan, just north of Chicago.
Oh, was it nice over there?
It's not too bad. It's Chicago, you know.
I've been to Great Lakes, so
I got to see a little bit of it when I visited my girlfriend for her graduation. We actually got to see part of the town. You know, I got to see. I'm a I'm a big Married with Children fan.
Oh, I love that show.
And I
Al
got
Bundy. Come on,
man, I'm
Peg.
telling you, he's my hero,
Hey,
right?
Peg. Hey, Peg.
And I think I relate to him more now that I'm married and have kids than I
Yeah.
could back in when I was watching it. When I watched it as a as a teenager when it was out, it was an interesting show. But I've found more. I really enjoy it now that I'm
I remember
older.
one joke from that show. Want me to tell you the joke?
Sure, what's that?
What has 128 teeth and stops a monster?
I have no idea.
My zipper. That's what I remember about the
gosh.
show. That's funny, isn't it?
But
I
but yeah, I ended up I got to see the fountain,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the show, which I really
Yeah.
thought was cool. Like, oh, cool, I got to see the fountain.
That's
We
cool.
did Sears Tower. Now, when I got a chance to get off base after I graduated, we went to Navy Pier and we went and saw Saving Private Ryan. That's when that came out.
Oh, I love that movie.
So I know we have we kind of like the Marines have I don't know what they call it, their final test before they get out.
I understand.
We have it. It's called and now it's slipping my mind, but
now you don't recall.
yeah, I can't recall that, right? Well, it wasn't a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
but basically battle stations is what we call it. It's kind of the final test. Everything you learned in boot camp is going to be tested here. It's basically they put you to bed, they wake you up, and all hell's breaking loose.
I
They're
understand.
screaming and yelling at you and all this kind
Yeah,
of
you
stuff.
go through all these different
You got to get
tests,
dressed, yeah, and then you run from station to station. You run, and these stations they put one here, and then they'll put one on the other side of town, on the other side of the base, and then the other one's on the other side of the base. So you're running the entire time in your combat boots, basically. And I ended up getting shin splints while I was doing that, so it made it even harder. Some of the stuff we did was, the Marlin Spike. That's where you basically simulate putting a ship to sea and bringing it back in, with the ropes and all that kind of stuff, the lines.
Oh no!
And then
cool.
we had to do firefighting portion of it, but the one I remember the most is the mass casualties. They put the biggest guy in the stretcher, and you have to haul him through this like maze, basically of all sorts of obstacles. And this guy kept hitting my foot every time, and it was just massive pain going down my shin. And then we do one that's a reenactment of the Indianapolis, where we have to jump off into the water, and then you make a big circle, and then you swim to the life raft. You get on life raft, and after that, everybody puts their wet clothes in a sea bag, and one person has to carry that sea bag while we're running. And I got it
nice
right towards the end. So we finished firefighting. All we had to do is make it to the graduation building, and I was so tired. We're at like hour 12 at this point. We've been running all night. I get the bag, and then I'm bringing up the rear, basically, and I have what we call them RDCs, Recruit Division Commander, who is right on my tail. And he said, if I pass you up, you're going to do this all over again. And
nice.
I'm, with the shin splints in both legs, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I break my legs. I'm just going to finish this and get over with.
That's good. Well, you did it.
We did. Yeah, I did. Yes, it was
So you
a
didn't
great
have to do it
feeling.
again?
No, I did not have to do it. It was an amazing feeling.
I mean, you got to admit, I'm sure back in the day you were thinner and more, fit than you are now.
Especially
like me,
then.
Yeah. So I get you.
Yeah, when I first got there, it was, they made you do a run, and they would time you, and then they blow the whistle. They blew the whistle and said, if you are not done with the run, you will not pass PRT to graduate.
Nice.
That was that first week. And then, by the time we did so much running, so much PT, by the time we got to week 6, week 7, we were like, go ahead and drop me. I don't care. Do
you remember your drill sergeants?
Let's see here. Yeah, we had 3 of them. We had an MM1. We had a GSE1. These are all first classes, E6s.
I have no idea what any of those ranks are. I'm just hoping
and then we had a bosun's
knows.
mate. We had a bosun's mate first class. So there's always the one guy that's an asshole. Then you have the guy that could go either way, and then you had the nice guy. So the nice guy was our machinist mate first class, Stern. No, that was the
and
GSE.
that's the guy you never wanted to piss off because you knew he was the one that always got the worst.
Well, yeah, if he did get mad, you didn't want to make him mad, but that rarely happened. He was. I asked him why when we were done. He goes, "Dude, I got like 6 months and I retire." So
yeah, I had a guy like that too. And when I went to boot camp, we had that one drill sergeant who was always quiet.
Yep.
Was the nice guy that everybody kind of appreciated, but you piss him off and get on his bad side, it's the worst punishment. We're talking about mile runs. You'd run a mile, then come back, you'd walk back a mile, then you'd run another mile until he felt comfortable.
You didn't do it good enough, so go do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that bosun's mate, he was the biggest pain in the butt, and you did not want to make him mad because he had apparently he had 2 brothers that were also bosun's mates. And those are when it comes to the Navy's kind of split with aviation and Navy, and I guess you could say submariners is kind of their other little thing. So, but aviation guys and the black shoe guys, there's brown shoe and black shoe Navy. Bosun's mates are probably the most
Brown shoe,
hardcore.
black shoe.
Brown shoe that's your aviation guys. Brown shoe
Okay.
Navy typically.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then your black shoe Navy's your all the ship stuff. You know, the bosun's mate are usually the hardest core guys. If you're gonna do anything with a flag or anything like that, the bosun's mates watching you. You better do it right.
No, no.
I had to do the flag duty at boot camp. That was part of my little job I had to do. And every night we'd go out there and have to bring the flag down. You know, it was part of one of my duties. And we would have a senior chief bosun's mate, and E8 watch us. And if you if you just flinched while you're standing at attention, you would get dropped when you came back in there. So
no.
It was I had one of the guys that was doing it with me, and he did something stupid. He did some stupid salute at the end, and the guy saw it, and I was like, oh God, you screwed us over, dude. And sure enough, we get in there, and he's like, you put the flag away. I want your asses back here right now because I'm gonna drop you. Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Flashbacks.
One of my funniest stories about boot camp, though, is you know, part of the job that I did was we would clean the we call it the ship. The building's considered a ship, so
yes,
you're always in charge of cleaning your berthing where we live, and then there's the P-ways outside the hallways. Well, who cleans that? Well, that's what we did at the end of the day. We would clean all that. Well, that also
that's the worst name, P-ways.
Yeah, P-ways, passageways.
Yeah, no,
but
it's worse.
We were also required to clean the ship's officer's office, the leading chief petty officer's office, and the RDC lounge where they all hang out. And I took a new girl. We had a new girl, and I said, "Look, I've never been dropped. Just do everything I do, and you'll be okay." So I go ahead and take her in, and you know, ask for permission. There's a permission thing you have to do, and I always nail it. So they go on in. All right, recruits clean. So we're cleaning. Don't look at the TV. You don't mention anything about a commercial you heard. You don't sing along with the commercial. You pretend that TV's not there or anything. If they catch you looking at it or anything, you're in trouble. So I explained all that to her. Well, I get into the head, what we call a bathroom, a head, and the RDC's like, hey, I got to take a whiz. Are you almost done in there? And I said, yeah, I'm almost done. So I get done. I walk out. He goes, this shower looks like it needs to be cleaned. You didn't clean the shower, did you? And I was like, I don't have anything to clean soap scum with the shower. I had Windex, So he's like, well, I want that soap scum off here before I go take a piss. So he put me back in there. So I'm just like spraying it down, like, well, this isn't going to work. Sure enough, he's like, I can't hold anymore. Get your ass out of there. So he's like, oh, it didn't get done. So he has us both stand at attention. He says, so Cornett, you're the smart ass, aren't you? I've heard of you. And I was like, I didn't think I was the smartest, but apparently the word got around, right? So I'm like, okay. I said, I don't think so, petty officer. He goes, yeah, I know you. He says, it's heat condition 5 today, which means I can't drop you. I think that's why you're fucking around today.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, petty officer, I don't believe so. He goes, I got to punish you somehow. How can I do it? He goes, what week you in? I was like, I'm week 7, petty officer. And he's like, so that means you know anchors away. And I was like, yes, I should know anchors away. So he got on the 1MC, which is basically like it goes to every berthing. It's the one thing you can talk to everybody in the building with. And he gets on it and he says, recruits, I've got a motivated recruit that's going to sing you a motivational song. And I was like, oh no. And he says, he hands me the, he says, now sing anchors away, recruit. And I started, and he says, I said sing. He's just yelling at me, right? So I start singing it, and I get halfway through the song and I forget.
Oh,
so we have these little books that we carry in our back pocket, and it's got all that stuff in there. So he ripped the one out of her pocket, threw it in front of me, and said, start over, Well, it turns out after I got done singing it, he went ahead and let us go. And some of the guys from my brother division, they said, oh, man, we heard you got in trouble last time. We heard you're singing on that. He said, man, we were singing with you, dude. We were singing with you. I was like, really? That's pretty cool. Yeah, you faltered. And we started singing with you and that kind of thing. So I said, oh, that's awesome. Well, the next day I went in, there was another RDC in there. And she said, oh, were you the recruit that was singing last night? And I said, yes, petty officer was. Oh, my girls really enjoyed hearing that. You think you could do that again? I was like, really don't want to do that.
Oh, nice.
I'm not a singer. I'm not going to sing it. I don't even know the song, but yeah.
You know who was a singer? Tiffany Hurd.
Oh, yeah.
She's an incredible singer. Don't let her tell you otherwise.
Yeah. I did a horrible job of it, but I did the best I could, but I'm not much of a singer. So, but nice. they got to give me a kick out of it. They liked it.
So you get done with basic training. Where was your first location that you went?
Went to Pensacola, Florida for what we call A school. So that was 6 weeks, and it was hot and humid. And one thing I learned about Florida is just because it's sunny doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. No. So we were supposed to have uniform inspections in our dress uniforms. I didn't bring my raincoat, which I should have done. I went in to go eat breakfast. It was a nice sunshiny day, and by the time I sat down to eat, there was rain going sideways. And I was like, well, I'm going to fail inspection today because I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
Exactly.
So I showed up completely drenched wet for inspection. Got in a little bit of
man.
trouble.
So where were you when 9/11 happened?
I was on board the USS Theodore Roosevelt, CVN-71 aircraft carrier station out of Norfolk. So I was working security at the time. I was in TAD to security, and I had worked that evening prior to. So typically when I worked the evenings, I would go back to my rack and take a nap. I didn't know it was even going on until about noon. I woke up, the TV was real loud, and I had to go take a piss basically. And so I went to do that, and there wasn't anybody in the berthing. I was just by myself, and I kind of looked at the TV, saw an airplane hitting a building, and I was like, what show are we? What is this we're watching? So I turned the TV off and then got back in my rack. About 20 minutes later, people come down, turn it back on. It's all loud, and I was like, hey, people are trying to sleep in here, and they're like, do you have any idea what's going on? I had no idea.
All right, Troy, we're going to talk about your life in combat of this country, okay?
Sounds great.
Please listen in a few minutes. We're going to take a little break. Thank you so much.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Angelo Rocha, and this is Vet for Vets. I just want to bring up that Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com. That's TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-TEXHAIL. Don't mind me, I just said that. I sound like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
H. Anyway, that's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. That's THETIFFIE.com. That's actually Tiffany's actual website where she sells all sorts of great stuff. I highly recommend you go there, especially your wife, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to continue on to our second half, but here's the thing. I just want to bring this up because I do it every episode. If you're a veteran in crisis or you're concerned about one, please call the free suicide hotline at 988. Yes, you heard me. That's 988. Just like 911, you have 988. That's for all veterans and people who are actually, having depression issues or upset about something. Or if you feel like you're going to do something to yourself, please just call that number, 988, press 1, and you'll be connected to a really, really well-qualified person. I haven't personally used it, but I know you can do it, and it's helped out a lot of my friends that actually have used it. Or you can also text 838-255. That's 838-255. If there's one thing, I said thing. See that? If there's one thing to take away from today's show, would be that you are not alone. I get emotional every time I talk about this because I've had friends that have committed suicide. And we talked about it. We got a little bit emotional talking about it. If you're not alone, fellow veteran, the crisis hotline works and is there for you. So listen to me. If your life has meaning, okay, your life does matter. Your life means so much to so many people. Don't give up. So with that, Troy, is there something you want to tell to our veterans that are possibly going through depression or feeling a little bit down on themselves?
Call that number, please. I've had a couple of friends of mine that have actually gone through that, and it destroys their families. Please, if you're feeling that way, call that number.
I highly agree. So, Troy, 9/11 happens. You know you're going to war. Did you meet your wife before or after 9/11?
After 9/11.
So how far ahead of 9/11?
We met in 2000. She's going to kill me here. 2004, I believe.
Yeah, I put you on the spot so that way she pauses. No, I'm not saying she should kill you, but maybe a little bit. Hey, Troy, what the hell? We met this and this time. So that's good. So you met right after 9/11. That's not bad.
Yeah, it was after I got out and I was attending a trade school.
Okay. So when did you get deployed and to where and how many deployments did you have? I know it's all rolled up into one.
So I only did the 4 years. So I did two deployments. My first deployment was in 99. We went to Kosovo for Operation Noble Anvil. We did that for 3 months. And then we got to participate in Southern Watch in Iraq for the last 3 months of that deployment. The next deployment was, of course, September 11th. We were scheduled to leave on the 24th of September. So half of our ship, the way the Navy does it, at least on a carrier, is right before deployment, 2 weeks or that month before, half the ship will go on leave for 2 weeks, and then the other half has an opportunity to go on leave for 2 weeks. And then so we had half of our crew gone. The small boys, we call it small boys, the smaller ships in our fleet, September 11th happened that morning. They reported to work. They went to sea. We were missing half of our crew, so we got to stay in. So I'm pretty sure they weren't real happy about that. Nice. They had to call their wives or their husbands and say, I need my sea bag, because they went to work and went to sea without being able to say goodbye to their families. So, but for us, we got to stay an extra week or two to get everybody back. And then we deployed and we made a beeline for that area. I do recall, I do not have my, what do you call it? The shellback. I don't have a shellback, unfortunately. We almost had an opportunity to get it. We were going to have to go through the Suez Canal. However, due to it being a small ship channel, we need air cover, and we can't launch fighters while we're going through the Suez Canal. We can't go fast enough to launch fighters. So we had to ask the Egyptians for air cover, and they were waiting a while to give us a response. So our captain said, hey, we might be going around Africa, and if we are, we're going to have to hightail it, because we've got to be in our operation, as soon as possible. So they finally gave us clearance. We went through the Suez Canal, and I did the Suez Canal twice and the Straits of Hormuz twice. So,
did you see any actual combat, i.e., gunfights, firefights,
No.
got shot at, got nearly blown up?
No, the only thing we're a couple of 100 miles. I kept telling my mom, I'll be fine. We're nowhere near the action. The closest I got to it was you could go in the hangar bay at night and you could see the flashes on the horizon.
Yeah, that was probably us.
And that could have been, that's the Army and the Marines
yep.
doing their thing. I'm sure that was some of the aircraft on our ships. One thing that I do want to mention, though, is because it's real special to me. When we deployed, the flag that was seen on TV that was over the buildings of 9/11, the fire department gave that to us, and sorry, I'm getting emotional about that.
Hey, but, it's okay. We all get emotional about stuff like that.
Every time we launched an aircraft, we flew that flag, and we brought it down when the last aircraft would land after every sortie. I'm sorry, but we bombed the crap out of those guys underneath that flag, and I'm very proud of that. And every piece of ordnance I built, every piece of explosive that we put together, was a part of that, and I'm very proud of that. And we were very excited to give that flag back to them, knowing that, telling them that yes, every sortie, every bomb that was dropped, made up for those firefighters and those civilians had to give their lives.
So now
for
you
that.
think about it. I didn't mean to cut you off, but now you think about it. A lot of people say they go and get deployed, but they don't see any action. But just because you don't see any action doesn't mean you haven't done anything for the betterment of the American way.
Absolutely.
So that's what a lot of people don't understand. You have soldiers who never saw combat, but they were building schools over there in Iraq and Afghanistan and other Middle Eastern countries. You have veterans that were helping communities out, building, excuse me, lighting systems. They were building stuff for the schools. You were helping with the sorties. You were helping with the ammunitions that were destroying these,
absolutely,
these these raids, these groups of Taliban, these group of Al Qaeda. You were doing that, but just because you didn't see any comment doesn't mean you weren't involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, we cleaned our magazines out, I think 3 times, and that's a lot of ordnance to drop.
We appreciate it.
500-pound, 1,000-pound, and 2,000-pound bombs, and we cleaned out a whole. I think I read a thing on it. It was 700 tons of ordnance. Was dropped. We basically turned Afghanistan into Swiss cheese. That's what we always talked about. So
we talk about it all the time with my veteran friends. Look, they killed 3,000 of our fellow Americans. And we've killed over 1 million of them. And I think that's, a little bit, some people can say a little excessive. In my opinion, we were doing what we had to make sure they understood. Go ahead and do that shit again. Go ahead and do that shit again. Like, when your dad or your mom, when they told you a little kid, go ahead and do that again. And then you did it. What they do? They did it 10 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty much what we did.
It's just show of force. It disrupts, or hopefully disrupts, other I won't say countries, but other Taliban groups or whatever, to do the same thing. Like, hey, you did this to us. This was our response. You can bet or guarantee the next time you do it, it's going to be worse. So
did you regret anything you did while you were overseas?
No.
Not one thing.
Not one thing.
Did you do something that maybe you might regret? Like maybe you might have done something like you got punished for it, something that you might have done, like maybe.
So there was
two movement
when
involved.
it comes to what we did in the war. No, when it comes to some of the fun we had, yeah, probably.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead. Do you have a little story that maybe you want to share with these people, so our fellow Burlesonites and Johnson County folks know?
Sure. On my first deployment, I didn't drink a lot in high school. I didn't do a whole lot of that kind of stuff. I wasn't the partier type. But of course, when you join the Navy, anybody who's been in the Navy, especially if you're in the aviation, you know the reputation of an aviation ordnanceman. It is party hard and drink. And so I found myself among them. So we hit our first port. The first port I drank was in Greece. And I had to get off with Liberty Buddy. We went to a bar, had some drinks, and then I thought, I'm pretty inebriated. Maybe I need to go get something to eat. So we left that place to go find somewhere to eat. Ended up at another bar.
Oh, I love this story. When you told me about this,
this bar had stickers from squadrons, from ships all over it. So we definitely knew it was Navy friendly. We told the guy, hey, we're with the Navy. We need to get something to eat. And he's like, oh, American Navy. I love American Navy.
That's a pretty good accent.
Yeah. So that's what I remember what he sounded like, but he's like, 1 free shot. And I was like, okay, 1 free shot. Yeah. Give me something on fire. Right.
American,
yeah. So he gave me something. You had to blow it out and shoot it. And then, I was like, well, I need to get something to eat. My buddy's like, no, man, I got this. Let's do some more drinking. I'm paying. And I was like, okay, well, if you're paying. So, we drank for quite a bit while longer. I had to go run to the bathroom. And I was like, dude, I need to stop. I got to put myself on water because we have what we call Cinderella Liberty. We have to be back by midnight to Fleet Landing. And so I went ahead and ordered a pizza, went in the bathroom, and when I came out, the pizza was ready. So I was like, look, I've worked at Little Caesars before. I know how long it takes to bake a pizza because he did it all he was starting to do the dough and everything. That takes about 15, 20 minutes. So I don't know what happened in there, but everybody's looking at me funny when I came out of the bathroom. So I don't know. As I sat back down, I ate my pizza. And
did he put his special sauce on it or something?
I don't know, but but I know we left because I was like, dude, we got to go. We've got to go. I'm not going to be late for Liberty, So we haul out of there. And I guess to put it in context, earlier that day we were told that during Kosovo, I guess the Greeks were on the side of this suicidal maniac or whatever this guy was, and so they didn't like us being there. They kept telling us, go home killers, go home killers. And they had a protest earlier that day, and it was basically just a bunch of men with their sons. So I didn't see any women in there. It's just them, saying "Go home, killer" in an American and that kind of thing. And so we kind of waved them off, like, okay, whatever. Well, now that I'm inebriated, I thought of that again and thought, hey, you know what? I was like, let's protest the protesters. So we happened to find this shack, and it sold flags from all over the world. And we found an American flag. We paid for one. I held one in. He held the other. We're
And
walking
just walk
down
the street.
We're walking
Oh
down the
my
main aisle of the
gosh.
street. We're cussing out
We're
every
just
Greek
putting
we
fuel on the
see.
fire.
Every Greek we see. You're free because of us, motherfucker. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so making complete idiots out of ourselves. And I remember we walked by this guy that was selling like what was it called? Stuff from the seafloor. What do you call that? The reef stuff.
Yeah, the reef stuff. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And he sells that and I guess he liked America, so he gave us some free sponge. That's what
A
sponge.
little sponge.
from the
Okay.
ground.
I thought you were talking about urchin or
No,
something.
it was like sponge from the seafloor. I don't know. I guess you can make a living doing that, but he gave us these free sponge from America. We're like, free sponge, woo, yeah, right. So as we're getting closer to Fleet Landing, there's this old town castle, and that's where everybody else was partying. That's where all the drinking was done. A lot of guys were drinking. So we had all these other sailors that were also coming back to Fleet Landing to make Cinderella Liberty, who were just as inebriated as we were. So we basically had a mob behind us just screaming at every Greek we saw. We get to Fleet Landing, the officers are shitting themselves. They're like, oh my God. So I get apprehended.
Hilarious.
My buddy gets apprehended. Now, before they apprehended us, though, because they were still trying to figure out what was going on, he grabbed the flag and he tucked it on my shirt behind me like a cape.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around with American flag cape. They put me in cuffs. They put him in cuffs. They break the whole group up. Everybody go get something to eat. Fleet Landing is a place we can go where if you're just drunk and you need something to eat, it's free hot dogs, free hamburgers, that kind of thing, because you're going to have to take a little boat back to the ship because we can't pull in there. And you need to have a good stomach before you get on there, because if the seas are rough, you're going to throw up. They don't want you doing that. So makes the ride uncomfortable for everybody, right? But so anyways, they interview us a little bit, and I'm just like, woo, I've never been drunk before. And like, yeah, we can tell. But they went ahead and took the cuffs off me, told me, go get something to eat. And then my buddy said something derogatory to one of the officers, so he got to stay a little longer. But I recall I was sitting there eating a hamburger, and my buddy was like, dude, are you drunk? And I was like, yeah. And they told me, but I didn't know about the American flag. They told me I was wearing it like a cape. And apparently I got back to my rack, and I woke up and I had the American flag on my back.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I almost start like an international incident. Just
So
my first time
you were
getting drunk.
actually Captain America.
Yeah, there you go. I was Captain America
Without the cap
for about 45 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. So have you kept in touch with any of your fellow military guys?
Overall, yeah. Mainly, we started with MySpace. Date myself real
I
good,
remember
but,
that. Yeah.
started MySpace, and then
That went really well, didn't it?
yeah, that wasn't. I didn't have it very long, because by the time I got into it, it was fading out, and everybody's going over to Facebook. So yeah, Facebook has allowed me to keep in contact with them. I got to meet one of them when I went for my sister's wedding in California. I let one of my buddies know I was going to be there, and he came out and got to meet my wife and my oldest son at the time, who was 2. I told him about that a couple of days ago. He was, well, how come I don't remember? I was like, because you were 2. You're probably getting your diaper changed while we were catching up, And then I kept up with everybody else. Haven't had a chance to meet anybody else. So,
Nice.
but I always tell them, hey, if you're in the Fort Worth area, let me know. So I'd love to buy you dinner or lunch or something, and meet my family and meet your family, that kind of thing. So
Let's talk about your wife. Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her in Tulsa, Oklahoma. While I was going to Spartan,
Oh,
getting
my
my AMP
goodness.
license. So.
Oh, you did tell me that. That's right. So how many kids do you have now?
Just the 2. So I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah, please don't forget that. You never forget your children's names. God, if I ever forget my daughter's ages, oh
Right.
my gosh, they'll cut my head off. They really will. So how long have you been married now?
We just celebrated 16 years back in June.
Still
So,
going strong.
Still going strong, yeah.
Do you have regular bouts of conflict every now and then,
Well,
just like
yeah,
regular
I
relationships?
mean, we get, every now and then we'll have little issues where, I say something that I thought, that she thought was bad, and she'll say stuff that I thought was bad. We don't really confront it, though. We just kind of, okay, well, if you're having a bad day, I'll check with you later, kind of thing,
Overall, how no, I feel like I'm repeating myself. How has life been since you've gotten out?
Not too bad. And I've been fortunate that, even with all the economy stuff going on, I've had a job the whole time, I started off small. I went to a local college in Beaumont, trying to get a psychology degree, till I realized you have to do 12 years to even talk to people. And I'm not a school person. So I was like, okay, we're going to scratch that. I really originally joined the Navy because I wanted to work on airplane engines. And so I found out about Spartan and said, hey, you know what? I got a buddy of mine that lives in Tulsa that I was in the Navy with. I contacted him, say, hey, if I get into the school, can I live with you instead of the dorms? And he said, sure. So that's the one. Yeah, I do have that buddy, but I forget we even had time in the Navy. He's more like a brother to me.
What's his name? You can mention his
Ray
name.
Ross. So
Ray Ross?
Yeah.
Hi, Ray Ross. Hopefully you're listening, or you listen to our show. That's good.
it's weird calling him Ray because I was so used to saying Ross for so long. Using the last
Well, yeah, in the
names, but-
military, it's always the last name.
Right.
Yeah, I do that to my friends all the time. Hey, we say by their last name.
Yeah.
So, how has your wartime experience affected you in your life?
I guess it's changed me a little bit. It's kind of made me see things differently. When I don't know, I've always been kind of keep my head down and just do what I'm doing. People go, well, what did you feel about your time with, the Kosovo and stuff? I said, I don't really know what to feel. I mean, when you're in the military, you don't really get to pick and choose where you're going to fight and stuff. You just go do it, So that's the mission, that's what we're going to do. I never really felt like, I felt like if you're in the military, that's just kind of what you do. You go where you're told, you do what you do. And I don't care for people that try to bring politics into it when they're in the military.
Yeah.
It's like, look, that's
Politics
not what you
and
signed
religion.
up for.
Oh, politics and religion.
So, but I guess it's kind of, I don't know. I kind of still see things the same way, but, just some of the stuff that I saw on the boat, going on, that kind of changed things for me a little bit,
Okay.
We had some, we had one incident on our way back. I want to say that was on our first deployment. We were doing our last CWIS shoot, where we shoot a drone. And from what I understand, the drone was being pulled by an aircraft about on a 2-mile wire. And they took the shot. It snipped the wire. The wire came back, recoiled onto the deck, and took off one of the guys' heads, basically.
Oh.
And I didn't know him. A bunch of the guys that I worked with apparently did know him. And, you think you're on a carrier like that, you're not going to see that kind of stuff. You think you're really safe, but, all sorts of things. He had a wife and 2 kids. And when I found that out, I felt terrible. I just really made me think, because I always thought being in the Navy, you're pretty safe from all that. I know the aircraft carrier is a dangerous place when you're up on the deck. But when you're doing that, they had the whole deck cleared off except for security personnel, and unfortunately it just came down right where he happened to be, So, it kind of makes you think about it a little bit.
All right, I'm going to do a couple of rapid fire kind of questions.
All right.
Okay. You can answer real quick, one sentence. Okay. What was the happiest day in your life?
Day my kids were born.
Both your kids, or
Yeah.
so that's
Both
2
of them,
days.
2 days. 2 days.
Yeah, I can't. That's not fair. If I say what's the happiest day, so those are the happiest days in your life.
That getting married and having my kids born.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the worst day in your life?
I guess that's really hard to. I don't really think about worst day. I guess it would be
The day you can kind of think, you know what, this has got to be the shittiest effing day I've ever had.
It was probably I'd say there was a day in the Navy when I talked to my girlfriend on the phone. She really pissed me off. And we were loading flares into some ammo cans, and I was talking to my buddies about it, and I didn't secure the ammo can very well. And so when I picked the ammo can up real forcefully, it opened up, and I saw 2 flares come out. And these flares, if they hit the deck hard enough, they can go off.
They can strike, yeah, absolutely.
And they told us, be very careful about that. And sure enough, it all happened in slow motion. I saw them go down, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. But they hit the deck, nothing happened. I happened to put my foot down on them and stop them. But the talking to I got from my
so that's what you consider the worst day?
Yeah, he tore into me really freaking bad about it, because that was not only my life but their lives, and he made a really fine point on that.
Nice.
So
has the military changed the way you feel about war?
I don't think so. I think if anything, it strengthened it.
Okay.
I mean,
that's all
I've always had the mentality of, hey, if you're either with America or against America, and if you're against America and I'm in the military, I'm going to give it to you, And I think even more so since 9/11 and all that, because prior to that, I didn't really have a frame of mind reference. The World War II guys have, Pearl Harbor, that really solidified that, and 9/11 kind of solidified it for me even more than what I had before I joined.
You as a veteran, how would you like to be remembered? The day you decide or the big guy up in the sky decides, you know what, it's your time, Troy. How would you like to be remembered?
I guess kind of how everybody would like to be remembered. Good guy. Was always there for his family, always there at work. That kind of thing. Just there for people. When they needed it. Make people laugh. I like to do that a lot. I like to make people laugh, and
so
just
this part right here. This is the question that I get emotional, because it makes you think. Okay, Here we go. If you can say anything to any of your friends who have died, what would you like to say to them?
Ooh,
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
It could be military, it could be family, somebody
Yeah.
that you are close to, somebody you knew. If you can tell them anything,
probably just tell them how much I cherish their friendship. They're, them being part of my life. Everybody that you meet has an impact on your life, and if they were a friend of yours, they had a positive impact, and I want to make sure they knew that. Especially in a situation where maybe it wasn't it. It was their choice to go, and say, hey, you made that impact on my life, and I think you ought to know that.
That's a good answer. But I just wanted to ask you that. Okay, so this is another one. What message and life advice would you like to leave for future generations who would hear or see this interview?
Be you. Whatever that is, whatever iteration that is, be you. Don't let anybody decide who you're going to be. Do things on your terms. Life is fleeting. It's if you think about how long things have been around, we're a mere blink. Yeah, that's a real hard one.
It's a very hard question.
Yeah,
some people have thorough answers because they planned it out, but these are questions that I didn't tell you about because I just wanted to be.
Yeah, be you. Don't let anybody tell you what to do or how to do it. Do it your own original way. If I can give a real quick analogy, Chris Farley's one of my favorite comedians. He was supposed to do a paper on a persuasive paper or a how-to paper. And it was how to get someone's attention. And instead of doing the paper, he walked out of the class. He came back in, like he chugged a beer. I guess he crumpled it and then like threw it up against the wall with still beer in it, right? And just made all this racket, And then he said, how to get people's attention. And teacher's like,
that's exactly
that's how you do it. Yeah, but he didn't write the paper. He still got an A. He did it his own original way.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to say to anyone, like your children or your friends?
Be good to everybody you meet. Be funny. I guess make people laugh.
I mean, I know you kind of broadsided about these questions, but that's the reason why I'm doing this show because I wanted to bring people like you that live in Johnson County, that walk every day through stores, through restaurants, and they see you. They don't know you're a veteran. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know the countless lives you've saved by giving the military the ammunition. They don't know. That's why I'm spotlighting you today on this show. And my question for you is, if you had your children, well, I guess you can say friends too, but mostly your children, if they're sitting right across from you and they were wanting some advice from you about life in general, what would you tell them?
I guess I would tell them, be the best version of you can be. It's kind of the same what I've already said. I do things your own way. Do your own fact checking. Don't let people tell you certain things. Go research it yourself. There's with the internet nowadays, we have all these resources. No one ever uses them. They look up stupid stuff, and use that to check it. Fact check everything, and especially when it comes to schools and stuff. A lot of times schools try to push stuff on you that may not be true, and they need to learn how to search those resources and let the teachers know they're wrong. It's okay to tell your teacher they're not right. It's okay to tell someone in authority that they're not right. That just because they're in authority doesn't mean they're right.
You're absolutely correct, and I think that's where it's kind of headed in the wrong direction sometimes. Not all the times, but okay. So, is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed, or you maybe wanted to bring up in the interview? You could talk about anything that you want. You can talk about your ham radio life. You can talk about your podcast. You can talk about your radio show.
I guess,
whatever you want to talk about you. We want to know who you are, Troy.
I guess some of the interests I have is I enjoy painting miniatures.
Really?
Such as Dungeons and Dragon miniatures.
Do you do any gouache?
Any what?
Any gouache?
Gouache.
Yeah, see, you're not I'm an artist. Gouache is basically watercolor with actual glue, and I love to do gouache.
I haven't done that. No, it's mainly just
look it up.
Painting miniatures. Another hobby is, of course, the ham radio, and then I have it's a YouTube channel that basically focuses on just a video game that I played. It was mainly for people that were starting the game, kind of giving them hints and builds and that kind of thing. It's called Elite Dangerous, but
I love that
they've
game.
Stopped supporting it on Xbox.
Why was that? I love that game.
They don't have the resources to do it on Xbox that they can on PC, so they dropped it, and I kind of dropped it. So my thing's been off for a couple of years. So I haven't really
Troy,
kept
our
up with
show
it.
is over.
All right.
You've
thank you very
been
much.
fantastic. Thank you for all your stories. Everybody, thank you so much. I'm Angelo Rocha. My guest was Troy Cornett. Thank you for listening to Vet for Vets. You have a great day.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.